Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, and welcome to my microphone working again. I'm sorry, the last couple of videos, the sound was really low on them. Something happened with the settings on my microphone inside my computer. Usually after I make the video, of course, I listen to it, but I'm just kind of listening to it on my computer. I didn't realize what it was sounding like on YouTube, so thanks to everybody out there for letting me know, and sorry about that. Hopefully things are back to normal. All right, for today's episode, let's discuss Scorpions and their album Savage Amusement. This is their 10th studio album released in 1988, and I'm going to say The Scorpions. I know it's just Scorpions, but it just always sounds so awkward to me. And even when I see interviews with the band, they say The Scorpions, so I have no idea why they just don't put a The Scorpions in there, but all right. Whatever. This is an album. I discovered the Scorpions. Blackout was the first Scorpions album for me, and I'm pretty sure I did a video on Blackout. If I did, I'll leave it in the description. I didn't discover the 70s Scorpions till like in the 90s sometime, like the mid to late 90s. So Blackout and Love at First Sting, I was totally into those records. But then when I heard Rhythm of Love from this album, I was kind of like, not interested. So I never bought this. And this was around the time, this came out in 1988, and I talked about it in a video, My Years Away from Metal. It was about 1988, 1989 when I started to drift away from metal. I was just not interested in it during that time frame for a bunch of reasons. I'll try to link that video in the description also. So I never heard this album, and just recently I saw it in a record store. In fact, when I did my video on Accept, Eat the Heat, I got this at the same time, and the price was right, and I thought, you know what, I kind of hesitated. I actually put it back, because I thought, like, oh, I'm going to hate this, I'm not going to like it, but I thought, I should get it. Got all the other Scorpions albums, so I got it and spun it a bunch of times, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. Now, there's some things that I don't like about it. Kind of by this time, the Scorpions got a little too slick for me with the production, and they were a huge band. Got way too kind of like Bon Jovi style production, really slick. Kind of took some of the edge and the pun intended sting out of their sound. Yeah, I think of the Blackout with the opening track, Blackout, and the way those guitars just kept like ripping out of the speakers, and Matthias Jabs is playing all these fills, and it just has all this sort of raw energy, and the guitars are really kind of in your face. Here it's more kind of smoothed over, and it's made less offensive, less polite. The sound is made much more polite, whereas I prefer them when they're a little grittier and edgier. Now, it's produced by Dieter Dierks. Dieter Dierks did a whole bunch of the Scorpion stuff, and it is produced really well, by 80s standards. Again, it could stand right up there with Bon Jovi or any of the really big bands, slick kind of radio bands at that time. And that's kind of where the Scorpions had moved in for me. They sort of moved into this like radio rock territory that I didn't really like. I liked it when they were like No One Like You and Big City Nights. That was a real sweet spot for me. It was radio friendly, 3.5-minute songs, but it still had some energy and sort of excitement to it. Here it gets sucked out a little bit. So, but the mix is good. But the one thing that, there is one thing that does really stand out to me, and it's the drums. Now, I don't know if it's the sound of the drums. It is the sound of the drums that I don't like. They're very 80s. They're very dated sounding. There's a thing called drum triggering where I don't know if I completely understand it, but where the drummer hits the drum and it's basically electronically, you can change the sound of it. And that's kind of what it sounds like is happening here. Like it sounds like a drum machine at times. In fact, when I was first listening to it, I wasn't even sure if it was real drums, if Herman Rarebell really played on this. There's times where it sounds like real drums, and there's other times like in Rhythm of Love and the more sort of radio-geared type of songs that it just sounds like a drum machine, or like maybe he kind of played, there was a drum machine playing and he played around the drum machine a little. I don't know, but to me, it's kind of distracting. It makes the songs sound really stiff, and I'm kind of wondering if at this point in time, although the different guys do get involved in the writing, the bulk of the writing is a lot of Rudolf Shaker and Klaus Meine, and it kind of makes me wonder if they sort of wrote this album with a drum machine, then brought the other guys in, and they just kept some of these drum machine parts. I don't know, but I do find it distracting, and it does sort of it does sort of date the album a little bit. But again, there's some cool stuff on here, and depending on your tolerance for the sort of more radio-friendly stuff is going to probably determine how much you really like this record. There are some songs that feel like classic Scorpions. When I say classic Scorpions, I'm talking sort of the second phase class, not the Willie Roth era Scorpions, but like Animal Magnetism, Love Drive, Blackout. And that for me would be the opening track, Don't Stop at the Top, and also the song We Let It Rock You, Let It Roll. These are kind of that classic, fast Scorpions feel. Don't Stop at the Top is the opening track, so that feels like a kind of a classic Scorpions opener. There's also a song on here, Love on the Run, which is a really, really fast and aggressive tune. The drums here sound real, and they're way up front, and they're way driving. It almost has like a Motorhead, you know, fast speed type of feel to it. So that was really cool, and those sort of harken back to the old Scorpions. You get the radio ones. You know, Rhythm of Love was the big hit for them. It was the big video hit. Passion Rules the Game is another one that is really slick, and they're good songs. You know, the choruses, they're really catchy and everything. And I got to be honest, I listened to this after the first listen. These songs all stuck in my head because they are very catchy. They've got nice choruses and everything. Media Overkill, I like that one. It's got a cool, funky kind of groove to it, and has a really nice chorus. Walking on the Edge, which ends side 1, I believe, is a Scorpions ballad, and which I like Scorpions ballads. I'm kind of a sucker for all eras of Scorpions ballads, and it starts with this just fantastic lyric: "Welcome to a trip into my hurt feelings." That's just great, man. It sounds like it could be used by some like early 2000s emo band. And you know, I just absolutely love that line. And the album ends with a really good Scorpions ballad. Now, it's not Still Loving You, which in my opinion is the greatest stadium rock heavy metal, one of the greatest stadium heavy rock metal ballads of all time. But it ends with one that's it's good, and it checks off all these kind of Scorpions ballad boxes that you would expect. Believe in Love, and it's got, you know, the quiet verses, and then there's those big blocky hanging in the air chords for the chorus, so it lifts it up, and you just completely picture a stadium with, you know, lighters in the air and all that stuff, a big huge chorus that you want to sing along to, and then the song kind of goes out dramatically. So that's cool. You know, I really like that because I do like Scorpions ballads. So overall, it's a good record. I'm kind of, you know, I prejudged this record and avoided it for, you know, how long ago was 1988? You know, 44 years ago. I avoided this record for a really long time because I was scared by the single, and I just thought it was going to be way too slick. And I heard what the Scorpions did after this, and I really didn't care for that. But I'm glad that I got this because I do really enjoy it. I think that there is some stuff to really like on here. There is some stuff that feels like classic Scorpions. Maybe the drum sound and the production is a little too slick and dates it at times, but that's all right. You know, it kind of reminds me of that era where these bands were getting paid tons and tons of money. They had big record contracts. They were on top of the world, man, and they were working with the biggest producers in the world. They were in the biggest studios. You know, there was no expense paid for bands like Scorpions. All right, let me know out there what you guys think of Savage Amusement. Let me know in the comments down below. Did you embrace it when it first came out, or did you come around to it later like I did? Let me know in the comments. Check out those other videos linked in the description. Till we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.